Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and today we're going to have a look at the National Hurricane Centre as the Atlantic is being blown up in the last few days with potential hurricanes, tropical storms and tropical depressions. We currently have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and a potentially 7th tropical system. We've got 1 hurricane currently, 1 tropical storm, and 2 tropical depressions, 1 area of very high interest, 1 area of very low interest, and then another tropical wave which will soon be classed as an area of developments in the near future. But if we first start with the disturbances, and then we'll go into detail on the big storms that we could be seeing. So if you have a look at this disturbance 1, it's really just shower formation, and potentially a bit of development, but Sally is moving into Louisiana and is forecast to strengthen into a hurricane, so I'm assuming that's going to sap a lot of the energy out of that. So I very much doubt that really does develop in the end. So yeah, Sally's moving up towards Louisiana, potentially turning into a hurricane, and we'll look at its track in a minute. Paulette is heading towards Bermuda. Now, it's not going to make impact on any mainland USA. It might get caught up in the jet stream, might head towards the UK and influence our weather. But at the moment, in its tropical status, it's only really going to be affecting Bermuda as a Cat 1, maybe Cat 2 hurricane. So very significant conditions for them, and we'll be updating that in a minute. Rene is sort of a tropical depression that has not really developed that much, and is pretty much dying out, but it's sort of followed in Paulette's path, so it hasn't had as much energy to draw off, and it's sort of meandering out in the middle of the ocean. Tropical Depression 20 has just recently formed, and it's quite uncertain what's going to be happening with that as it heads across the southern part of the Atlantic Ocean towards the Caribbean, and then again with Disturbance 2, which is a very high chance of formation. But it does look like it might be, it does say here that it might be going over some colder waters and into an area of stronger upper level winds, so some more wind shear, which might inhibit its development. But it following behind this Tropical Depression 20, this may sap out all the energy. That's why we might be seeing this area not develop as much. But if we have a look at the 5-day outlook, you can just see what we're looking at. So this disturbance 1 is going to be moving more southwards, so even though it's very light development, a lot of the energy probably will be sapped away by Sally. And then if we have a look at this, disturbance 2 is actually moving further north. I thought it was moving further west, further west, but it's actually moving northwest, following the sort of the track of Rene and Paulette. So again, it's not really going to be impacting a lot of land. I think these are the lesser cities off the coast of Africa. It might be affecting those, but it might just really get named as another tropical storm or tropical depression, just adding to the list. We'll soon be clear of the alphabet with the names, which is pretty worrying. Just showing how active the season's been. And then that's that disturbance 3, which is currently a tropical wave off the coast of Africa, soon to move across. But if we now have a look at Tropical Depression 20, which is that system off the coast of Africa, that's been newly formed, and it's forecast to turn into a hurricane in its long range, yes, and even a little bit into its short range. It's meant to strengthen quite significantly, but it's not really going to be affecting any land, so it's not really something we need to watch at the moment. But if that track does change, it heads towards the Caribbean, or even again towards Bermuda, we need to be watching this much more closely. And again, these tracks can change. Anything else really outside of the white area of that forecast cone is very uncertain. And the thing right now is, with so many hurricanes and tropical systems out in the Atlantic, what happens to one could affect the track of another. So whatever happens with the tropical systems to the north of it could impact whether this weakens, strengthens, or even changes its direction, as tropical systems, if they get large enough in certain locations, can impact upper level winds and could influence the direction of other different storms. We won't look into depth in this, as it's not affecting land yet, but it's probably going to be named as a another tropical storm, and potentially another hurricane. This is Tropical Depression Rene, which is, well, depleting, and as I said, it's just really milling around in the Atlantic. It's not really anything's happening to that. And again, this could be something that does affect Depression 20, but this probably is going to be consumed more like by other tropical systems. So nothing really happening with this. So there's a lot of activity, but some of them are really not doing much towards the land. Hurricane Paulette, which is affecting Bermuda. If we have a look at that, the warning code and static images, you can see it heading towards Bermuda. It's quite a strong hurricane. It's got quite small hurricane force winds. This has recently strengthened, but it's going to be quite a strong hurricane when it reaches there, with a hurricane warning in force. If we have a look at its wind speed probability, it's pretty much guaranteed to be striking Bermuda. Hurricane force winds are pretty much bang on down the middle of Bermuda, so potentially a lot of destruction with that. So that's going to be a sort of dangerous scenario. Doesn't look like at the moment it's going to be a major hurricane, but still a minor hurricane can still do a lot of damage. But it does look like it's going to be moving through relatively quickly, and hopefully they can bunker down there and hold on. But lastly, we'll be having a look at Tropical Storm Sally, which is something that is going to be in the eye of the Hurricane Center for the next couple of days. It's recently come off the coast of Florida, providing a lot of thunderstorms, and the reason why it's got so much info on it right now, and it's been upgraded quite significantly, because it was only a low-level sort of disturbance even a day or two ago, with a low chance of developing. The reason why it's developed so quickly is because as it passed over Florida, it got into better radar and more weather observations were able to be done on it. So it was seen that it was developing much faster than anticipated, and we actually started to develop rotation over as a mesocyclone over Florida, providing very significant rainfall. I think 7 or 8 inches to the south of Florida. But it's going to be heading towards the coast and be turning into a hurricane, potentially a major hurricane. Now, as it's only been recently upgraded to this status, there's been a lot of computer model uncertainty. We've seen some computer models maintain it as a Cat 1, maybe Cat 2, others upgrading it to Cat 3, maybe even Cat 4, as it approaches land. And as you can see, it's moving very slowly as it reaches land. And you see all these dots very close together, and those are 12-hour increments, so that it could develop even further, depending on what we see. But we'll have a look at wind speed probabilities. So tropical storm winds are very likely now. Hurricane force winds not as likely, but again we are very far, or still a few days out, so those are likely to go towards the reds and the purples as we move through. Arrival times, sort of Monday morning, maybe into Monday evening, or tropical storm winds. Again, it's quite uncertain how it develops. And now if we have a look at the peak storm surge, you can see sort of 7 to 11 feet, 4 to 7 feet widely, quite significant. And if we have a look at the US rainfall totals, you can see quite widely the reds and a little bit the purple, so 15 inches potentially, and I'd expect that to probably increase a little bit as we get closer towards the event. 15 inches quite widely, which is very significant rainfall as it's such slow moving, much more slow moving than Laura was. And if we have a flash flooding, you can see moderate levels already, and I expect that to again increase as we get closer to the event, and the significance of the category increases as well. So very significant impacts are to come. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video.